There's one person identified as Steve White that we do not know who that is at this time. Are you a member of the presentation for this evening, or just a resident, or can we identify who you are? Person logged on is Steve White.
They need to unmute themselves, right, Mike?
Yes, please. Steve White, whoever that is, are you part of the presentation for the night? Mr. Hurling, does that look familiar to you?
Does not look familiar to me. This is Kim Freemuth, Mr. Hurling's attorney.
Okay, all right. So we're just trying to identify if they're here to help with the presentation or just here to as a resident, that's all. Because they're supposed to pre-register for the meeting.
It looks like Mr. and/or Mrs. White has exited.
Okay.
So just let you know, I do see someone else coming in, so I'm going to let them in so you can get the meeting started as it is being recorded.
Okay.
Jamie, you're going to make the announcement, or is John, once the meeting starts, that it is being recorded so that we're not accused of violating Pennsylvania's wiretap law? Somebody needs to tell people that, okay?
Jamie always handles that. I don't see Jason. Is he on?
I do not see Councilmember Ferguson at this time or in the waiting room. For those of you that are on the call and participating, this meeting is being recorded and will be available per the Borough website after the meeting.
Hey, thank you. Call to order Borough Council Workshop Meeting, February 3rd, 2021. And we'll start with a roll call.
President Wireman,
Here.
Vice President Cresser,
Here.
Councilmember Delicio,
Here.
Councilmember Ferguson. I did see he was joining, so he may not have his audio yet. Councilmember Stevens,
Here.
Mayor Kaler,
Here.
Manager DeFinis.
Here.
You want to go back to Mr. Ferguson?
Sure. So Councilmember Ferguson, are you here this evening?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, great. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay, thank you. Welcome all. We have a meeting agenda that was revised and sent out via email in addition to what was received in the package. So I have a motion for approval of the agenda of February 3rd, 2021 workshop meeting, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Motion by Councilor Cresser, second by Councilor Delicio. Any other changes or additions?
John, do you want me to highlight those that were added or to changes for tonight or no?
Everyone received the email? You saw what the changes were? I
Yes.
think we're good. Thank you for
And
the
it was
offer.
posted on the website.
Yes.
Okay.
Hearing no questions, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion's been approved. Second item is for public input. Anyone wishing to address council this evening, please state your name and address.
At this time, President Wireman, I do not see anybody with their hand up using the Zoom function, those that have registered for the meeting. So I would take it as no public comment from those registered at this time.
Very good, thank you. We'll continue with our announcements. Mr. DeFinis.
The next Borough Council meeting is February 17th, the regular meeting at 7:30 via Zoom. Registration is required. Herc is scheduled to meet Wednesday, February 24th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. Registration is required. Next planning commission is scheduled for March 1st, 2021, 7 p.m. Via Zoom and or in person. Registration is required, weather permitting on the in person. Roosevelt, I'm sorry, that's for you.
Any other dates to highlight?
I have nothing at this time. There were some items in my manager's report.
Okay, then we'll continue with item 4 this evening on the agenda. Is 43 Roosevelt preliminary land development presentation.
So just to get started, we'll let the applicant take the lead on this, and as they did the planning commission on Monday, and then we'll have any comments or input from the engineer and staff. Mr. Hurling, would you like to proceed?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Arthur Hurling, the applicant for the 43 Roosevelt Avenue development. I have a brief presentation for you to give you background on the project, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. With me tonight is Kim Freemuth with Fox Rothschild and Jason Sneeland with Lenape Valley Engineers. 43 Roosevelt is a corner property at the corner of Roosevelt and Girard Terrace. Currently, there's a single-family home on the site facing Roosevelt, and in the rear of the property, a large metal detached garage. North Girard Terrace consists of quadruplex-style apartments. South Girard Terrace consists of quadruplex style apartments and twins. What our proposal is to remove the single family home and the detached garage and build single family semi-detached dwellings or twins for a total of 4. We met with the planning commission Monday evening, had a good conversation. They let us know of any concerns they have, bounce ideas off each other, and we're going to be working towards this, kind of cleaning up the plan a little bit. Not too many big issues. So look forward to the same conversation with you. Jamie, if you slide down to the next page, this is just a color layout of the proposed site plan. You have the 2 sets of twins. The front door faces North Girard Terrace. 3 of the 4 driveways will be on North Girard Terrace. There will be 1 driveway on Roosevelt, and that's where the existing driveway is for the single family home. All the homes will have public water, public sewer. They're all approximately 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath with a front porch. You can click to the next slide there. Just a larger version. You can see we propose landscaping, buffering. Landscaping came up at the planning commission meeting. Some concerns with tree locations as far as site distance and interfering with utilities. It sounded like the planning commission was open to possibly relocating some of the trees in the rear yard, which we're open to. So my engineer and the borough engineer were going to put that together and come up with a game plan there. If you can go to the next slide, please. This is a sketch of the proposed twin. We're still working on it, but at least gives you a rough idea of the general layout. So there'll be a front porch for residents to sit, some stone on the facade, some vinyl siding shutters, so on and so forth. You can go to the next slide there. This is just some of the side elevations, just to give you an idea of what it could look like. That's more or less what we're thinking, but we're still in the planning stages of that. You can go to the next one there. These are the actual subdivision plans, which you may have seen. We received a second review letter that we're working through. doesn't seem to be any major issues. We're working through them, and we plan on making a resubmission in the next few weeks based on the Planning Commission comments and then any potential comments that you may have this evening. So that's the quick presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
We want to have the comments from Planning Commission, either Mr. DeFinis or Mr. Stevens or Mr. Cresser comment before council gets
I was
any
absent.
reviews.
John, I was absent for the meeting. I was out working.
Yeah, I guess you were. That's right.
I can,
Go ahead.
ahead,
Go ahead,
Larry.
Luke. I was just going to, as was mentioned, there was some discussion on relocating some of the street trees. It seems like a lot of the concerns from our consultants' letters have already been addressed or will be addressed. So the plan's looking good.
And just to further on that, the engineers on the Zoom tonight, the borough engineer chat, if you have any questions, as Larry said, just stated, Mr. Stevens just stated, from the time we received the plans and review letters that had been done by Bursich and McMahon and utility engineers and the code officer, some things have been addressed already in the submission that you're looking at right now. Is that fair to say that, Chad?
It is, based on the rendering that was illustrated at the Planning Commission meeting and tonight. It appears that our concerns have been already addressed. Certainly, they will need to be included in the next submission package, but from what we see, it appears that they will be addressed.
And following those comments, some of the comments from the applicant and his attorney and engineer, they will comply with the letter of and have with all of the comments from borough engineers and the zoning officer. So the issue of the trees was raised for sight lines in the front yard, as well as disturbing of utilities. We're going to put underground utilities, water, sewer, electric to these properties, all right? And we're going to put trees on top of them. It's not, I know we have street trees as a part of our ordinance that we require them, but it might be in our best interest not to have street trees, but yard trees, so that we don't cause a sight line obstruction, and we don't have roots growing into the underground utilities, which are a constant battle here in this municipality. So that was one of the comments we had on Monday night, and the Planning Commission was open to that discussion between the two engineers and reviewing that on the next plan. The Planning Commission did recommend preliminary approval of the plan with those changes that the applicant has conveyed that they would comply with.
The Planning Commission also recommends approval of the 3 requested waivers.
One of the things that we are waiting for is the letter, the Montgomery County Planning Commission letter. We have not received that yet.
Those 3 waivers you're addressing are on Lenape Valley Engineering's request of December 22nd.
Actually, February 1st. We eliminated one of the waivers, but ended up adding another one from that letter. So it's on the screen right now. You can see it. There was a waiver related to the clear sight triangles for the new driveways because of the street trees. There's a stormwater management waiver related to the fact that we did our infiltration testing and we didn't get a positive infiltration results. So we're providing a stormwater design that detains water much more than what the ordinance requires, but it doesn't provide for the infiltration because we can't make that work. And then the last is a waiver related to setbacks in the borough. Building setback lines are based off of property lines unless there's an easement. So in the back of these properties, we have little stormwater management facilities that have an easement over those for maintenance and access and whatnot. And technically, we would have to take our building setback line from that easement line. But in this case, it doesn't really make sense. They'll be subsurface. There's plenty of yard area. So we have to request the waiver. And the planning commission reviewed those and they were comfortable with the waiver requests.
Chad, I read where, and let me just say that Borough Council does not get a lot of presentations in this fashion, maybe a couple a year. So we're more novices, or at least I am. So some of these questions might not appear to be pertaining to the project, but nevertheless, bear with us. Chad, I read where you talked about the, I guess, stormwater management in the back by the alley. Is that what you're just commenting on? And are you in agreement with the way it's looking now?
But they're going to modify it based on the discussion I'm going to have with the engineer, the design engineer. They mentioned at the planning commission meeting that they're amenable to alternatives to what they previously proposed. I believe they're in agreement with the concern that I addressed in my letter, and we will work that out. I'm confident that we can work that out on a one-to-one engineering level.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with that.
Thank you. Is the alley any issue at all? From what I saw on the overhead map, the Google map, it sort of just terminates down the way.
So
It's not really a through alley.
the alley is there and we don't own it. So it's actually separate from us. And one of the property owners actually does use it occasionally to access it. So one of the comments was potentially to use that as a driveway or to close it off. And I don't think we can close it off because someone else is using it and it's not just ours. So essentially, the alley is there and we're leaving it as it is. But no, from our standpoint, it's not a problem for us. It's just, you know, something typical in Hatfield Borough that people live with.
So will the property owners have deed rights into that alleyway?
So I don't exactly know. We're not intending to use it. I think technically we could, since it's there and open to the public. But from our standpoint, we're not using it or planning on to access it. So I think primarily it's just going to be for the existing residents that use it and not for us.
So the legal description will not go into the alleyway. It ends at the property line.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
So this is Kate Harper, the solicitor. Jason, I just wanted to let you know the borough does not ordinarily maintain alleys like public streets. Just you should be aware of that.
Yeah, and that's I would say that's pretty typical for boroughs.
Yes. Yes, it is.
They're always a problem. You know, nowadays, if we created them, we would have some sort of an agreement for maintenance. But now they're kind of no man's land. But from our standpoint, we're not using it or touching it, and it's not included within our deed. You know, we just referenced to touch it. We weren't making any attempts to claim it. And since someone seems to be using it occasionally, we don't think we can extinguish it either.
I think you're correct, but the Borough Council President's question, if it's not in your deed, you can't convey it to anybody else either.
That's correct.
But you would have rights, or each of your new homeowners would have rights because they're adjacent to it. They could use it.
Yeah, they could use it, and the intent is to not use it, but they potentially could.
Okay, two more quick questions. One, I don't have a February 1st waiver letter, although I see it on the screen. If
Yeah,
you
so-
could, or if Kim could send me a copy of your waiver letter, that would be very helpful.
I'll send it to you now, Kate.
Thanks. And my second question is, I thought at one point we had discussed making this a condominium. Is it a condominium? Are they single? Are they fee simple ownership, or what is it?
So these are fee simple ownership. It's set up that they'll have lot lines. I don't remember that conversation about condos. I'm not sure that the ordinance allows for that for twins, or if they have to be separate units, but I don't think, or maybe you can recall.
think
I don't
that
remember talking about that.
This is Kim. I think that discussion may have predated this plan when we were looking at a plan that had some shared parking and other shared
Right.
amenities that we no longer have now that we've cleaned up the plan and revised it to this new layout that conforms to the zoning ordinance.
Okay, I think you're right. And I think it presented or perhaps prevented problems with certain setbacks that you took care of. So do we need a zoning officer interpretation on any issues? I thought I saw a flurry of emails regarding your zoning hearing board decision. Kim, you want to address that?
We did not go to the zoning hearing board. My understanding is there are some zoning items referenced in Chad's most recent review letter, but we have addressed them on this concept plan that was shown earlier on the screen, the colored rendering, and we'll be addressing them in the next submission. So I don't believe there are any outstanding zoning issues or any zoning relief that's required.
Okay,
Correct, Jason?
because
That's
because if-
correct.
if Chad confirms that, then, I mean, the borough can't approve a plan that needs zoning relief, but if they've been remedied, then that takes care of that problem. Thanks.
Yeah, Kate, what you may be discussing may be the other subdivision application or land development application in the borough.
No, not Bennett's Court. I think it was this one. Is that what you were thinking of?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any zoning issues with this one.
Okay, Good.
I think the driveways had an issue, but that was resolved, Chad, in the new rendering.
It was addressed in the new rendering, which will be solidified with their next application
Right.
submission.
Right.
okay, good. Just checking. Thanks.
You answered, I was going to ask that same question about fee simple thanks for getting that one out there, Kate. Council, any other questions?
Yes.
Let me ask a general question first. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What's the time frame? What's the, I guess, approval process? What's our next review? It would be at time of final?
Yes.
All right, they've requested preliminary, which
Right.
if the plans are in a shape with no zoning violations to be approved, at preliminary, subject to the engineer's letter and other outstanding letters, you could do it at the next meeting unless we haven't given the Montgomery County Planning Commission a month. We have to give them a month, did we?
I will check with the zoning officer tomorrow.
So John, to your question, it could be on as early as the regular meeting this month. For preliminary only, subject to conditions.
Preliminary, okay. So we'll get 1, 2 more or more looks to make sure everyone's satisfied.
Correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions from council now, please?
Yeah, John,
Go ahead, Sal.
yes. That alley that's questionable that we just spoke of, is that being used as a right of way by the borough right now?
No,
Anyone can answer it.
what for our understanding is it's just private. It doesn't look like it's being maintained by the borough in any way. So as far as we're concerned, we're not aware of the borough taking any maintenance responsibilities or using that in any way.
And then you also spoke about underground utilities. Now, the electric, normally who pays for the construction of the electric?
From the pole to the
Well, there's no
underground?
poles. I thought there was
No.
underground.
Okay. From the pole to the house, the underground electric is, the cost is borne by the applicant, by the property owner.
Okay. Normally we use the poles directly.
We've been
All
doing
right.
underground for the last 20 years.
No,
Yes,
no,
yes,
no.
yes.
Look at,
All of Heather Meadows.
We
okay,
started with Heather Meadows
Heather
underground,
Meadows, whoa. Go ahead.
2000.
Time goes fast, Sal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any others? The driveways and the parking.
Goodbye.
Just touched on the
Put me on your list.
the question there
For
about
shoveling? Chase, he might need to get shoveled.
Bob, can you mute that?
you're saying, Chad, that that's been addressed now?
I'm
There
sorry,
was
Mr.
one
Wireman, I
question-
didn't hear your question.
There was comments you had about the putting berms between certain lots on the parking or driveways. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
don't have it right in front of me. There was so much to look at.
No, that's fine. Page 2 of my letter, it was zoning ordinance comment number 4. So that your zoning ordinance requires 5 feet between a property line and a parking area or a driveway. They did not have that on 3 of their lots in the submission that we last received. But if you look at the rendering that they've updated and shown in the presentation tonight, they've modified that to incorporate that required 5 feet. And that's what they'll include in their subsequent submission.
Okay.
So that zoning comment will go away.
So if I can make out here, it has like 10 feet between the parking spaces on the 2 middle lots. So that's the 5 and 5, right? Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, if we zoom in there,
It's like a little red line now.
exactly. So
Okay.
10 feet centered
new.
on the
That
property
wasn't there.
line. Exactly. Originally, it was roughly 2 feet between
thank you.
the parking area and the property lines. And then if you look at lot 4, what I call head-in parking off of Roosevelt, they originally had 1 foot off the property line. My concern was headlights shining into the rear yards of the other lots, and then exhaust if a car were to back in.
Right.
They followed my suggestion and put some landscaping there and added that 5 feet buffer. So they're going to finalize what that landscaping is going to be, either shrubs or arborvitaes, from what I understand, and that would effectively address my concern.
So the 2 parking spaces meet the requirements for this type of construction. Do we have street parking where the driveways are?
I believe North Girard is open for street parking. It is designated an emergency lane. For some reason, it's a dead-end road, so I'm not sure why it is, but it is. I believe your traffic engineer's letter recommends no parking, and I forget, he provided a distance in his letter to the intersection.
50 feet.
Okay. Is this North Gerard or is it North Gerard Terrace?
North Gerard Terrace.
So the homes, it's not a direct line intersection, but on the other side of Roosevelt, that's just Gerard? The
South
one that's
Gerard.
just South Gerard?
South
Correct.
Gerard Terrace.
They're all known as Terrace though?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to be clear, thanks. So Planning Commission, no major points other than the street trees, I hear.
No.
Council, anything else? Art, if I may, the homes you're suggesting, have you built anything like these previously?
I think he said, have I built anything like these previously?
Yes.
Yeah, we a number of times in different municipalities, most recently Whitpain Township, Ambler area.
Twins such as this?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the largest subdivision you've done? How many units?
5 or 6, something like that. Typically do small infill developments like this.
Okay. Did we know this one existed? It's nice that you found it and to change one property into 4. That's good for the borough's tax rolls. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Cresser, Mr. Ferguson, anything else you can think of at this time? We'll have a couple more looks.
Nope, I'm good.
I have no comment now.
Okay. Very good. Kate, anything else?
No, we don't have to make this decision tonight, but get to make it soon. Do you want this on the agenda for the regular meeting?
As a preliminary.
As a preliminary, and I'm asking Chad whether he thinks it's ready to go, subject to his review letters.
I think that would be reasonable, in my opinion.
As long as we get Montgomery County's report back in time to take a look at, right?
Okay. So just for planning purposes, Art and Kim, the borough's regular meeting is coming up on February 17th, 2021. And if we put you on the agenda, hopefully we'll have everything in line for the council to take action that night.
That would be great.
Okay. Sounds like that concludes it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hey, moving on the agenda, next item, the reports from our committee chairs and mayor. Anyone wishing to, that has information to share with council? Public safety, police report. I got to remember to put tags on this so I can turn to it easier. Here we go, found it. Too much exciting news other than the usual DUI and public drunkenness. People just can't seem to control themselves once they're in that state, right?
True.
Although I guess they submitted to a blood test right there. You have a lot of activity Monday and Tuesday morning.
Oh, we had about a dozen crashes.
Okay.
Most of them are, sliding off the road type of issues. So nothing too monumental.
Saw one, this wasn't an accident, but tractor trailer coming in off the pike towards Hatfield, trying to make a right turn on the Berge Road, didn't make it. They were stuck in one heck of a snowbank.
Oh, boy.
I don't know, Jane, council's quiet this evening. You have anything you'd like to point out?
Making it too easy on me. So. No, it's actually been quiet. So
Okay.
we're all about to go through our second round of COVID shots, a lot of us. So at least we have that underway. So thankfully.
We didn't have anybody putting out chairs and cones to protect parking spots.
We
Oh, God.
the usual the snow throwers that like to put snow back out into the street after everyone's plowed, but we need to deal with a little bit of that.
Yeah.
John, you can never use the quiet word when you're talking to officers. Didn't like that because it's like a jinx.
Yeah.
Right, Jane?
That's absolutely true.
You have enough parking storage, John, for everything that you had to bring in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. No public safety. Anyone else? All right. Workshop continues. Managers report.
So in your packet, you did receive the manager's report. Just running through the land development issues. Just went through 43 Bennett's Court. Mr. D'Angelo had conveyed that they would like to work on their plan a little bit more after receiving a review letter from the engineer on their latest submission. And I did speak with him again today, and we're going to set up a meeting probably the week of the 15th with between all the his consultants and the borough consultants to get his plan into a shape where he can present it to the Planning Commission and Borough Council. The 43, as I said, you've already seen tonight. Edinburgh Square, we're waiting on for the developer to return, I guess, from his winter hiatus and get back on the project. They had started the project; things were going along fine until it was determined that they had put some utilities in the wrong location according to their plan. So they're going to have to take care of that for them to proceed. We did have some discussions with a developer at 127 Penn Avenue, has the same type property that Mr. Hurling has, and would like to put some units on there. The SEPTA property, the borough did execute the license agreement with SEPTA for 6 months license agreement on that property. Utilities continue to monitor the past dues, as well as for electric and sewer. And there were a few encountered inaccuracies or one encountered inaccuracy during the readings, and that was taken care of remotely. The electric portal was updated, so if you go onto that electric portal, it will be current. The issues that were raised by a resident were addressed by the provider. The East Lincoln Avenue Bridge replacement project has been advertised. The ADA and ramps and curb ramp packet has been advertised. And we will review that tonight, the bids that came in. The road surfacing bid is scheduled for advertisement tonight. And stormwater projects will continue around the Public Works workload. The Public Works is also looking at getting price quotes on tree trimming for the 2021 season. The behind the meter project, I know that the vendor for the fiber optic was in the borough again today. As a matter of fact, the fiber was pulled into the borough office at this time, and I believe the connection down at the Dane Avenue behind the meter generation site is scheduled to be done soon as well. There was a site visit by Power Secure the day before the snow started, so they were in and out in a day. They didn't want to get stuck here in Pennsylvania, so that was done as well. AMI, we're scheduled to have Next Gen in on the week of February 15th to install the remainder of the meters, and we will get notices out to those properties next week. In your packets was a HERC update from the Public Information Coordinator. And then there were a couple of notices about conferences, and also one thing that had come in late in the week was the ZHB decision that from the zoning hearing board on the property on West Broad Street. So that's my report. I'll take any questions. I know you probably have a lot more questions for the assistant manager and the public works director, since he's on the call tonight as well.
You mentioned Lindsay's HERC update, and she asked here about the location because of East Lincoln might be under work with the bridge.
Yes.
So proposing possibly Talmenson Avenue and Heritage Park. If we want to think about that, or other locations you might suggest.
Can we use over by the SEPTA lot? That area?
Can't put cars on Market Street. If we could use the lot, I guess, but I think they're looking to have vehicles on the street itself like they did on Lincoln.
Yeah, so they can close the street.
Is there another lot around besides Talmenson Avenue? It's
the street that they're looking to use, not necessarily the lot. To pull the cars on the street, have them come in, park one way, and then exit another way. So if we have them come in off of West Broad Street, 40-foot road, park heading out towards Main Street on Talmenson Avenue, then getting them to leave would be easier, rather than, we're not going to be able to use Lincoln Avenue because the bridge being out. So
right.
It's utilizing a street. Market Street and Broad Street and Main Street are state roads. So we'd have to get a state permit to close those roads.
I think the staging would work well, as you just suggested, have them come down to Old Broad Street, get them off of 40-foot Broad, and do the registration down that way. And then from there down to Wheatfield Circle, close it off. That way Wheatfield and Stephanie Court would remain open. So it might limit the number of vehicles, but then you have the whole park to make use of also.
Now, is that something you have to advertise with the, communicate with the residents of that street?
Yeah, we would get mailers out. We would announce it in the Informer. It would be on all social media, website, HTV. As we get closer to the date, we would probably be able to use Ready Bonko that Tilmonton Avenue will be closed for that duration of time for the event.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion at the moment. Can't think of any other place that would work.
Knowing that the car enthusiasts do not want to be parking on grass or gravel or things like that, they'd rather be parked on the street or a parking lot or something like that.
Okay. Good.
Anything else?
Have any idea when PSAB might be able to make a determination for the Hershey conference? They have a self-imposed deadline when they need to say yay or nay.
You know what, John, I can check on that. I will check with PSAB on what their deadline is.
Okay. Just want to highlight Fred's walkthrough quasi-retirement gathering. Thank you, Mike, Jamie, staff, everybody, Lindsay, for coordinating everything. I was only able to stick around maybe a half hour or so, but there was a great number of people there while I attended, and I think I continued for the next hour after that, probably. So I think I heard he enjoyed it.
He did.
He enjoyed the fact that it snowed. When it snowed, he was in bed.
I think it was in communication with the guys.
He probably would have preferred to be out, right? Okay, hearing no other questions, we'll continue on the assistant manager. Ms. Snyder.
Okay, so my report was in the packets this evening. So I wanted to give you an update on the FEMA PPE grant. That's with the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, along with the Federal Emergency Management Agency for personal protective equipment that we had purchased for the borough during the COVID. That grant was submitted. We had a total of right around $5,000. That could be reimbursable to the borough, and that's under review at this time. Past the first stage of review, it's on to the second. So just waiting for an update to see how much money we'll get back from the PPE equipment that we purchased during the COVID pandemic up until September 15th. Next is the DCED MTF grant. That's the grant that we applied for on Tilmonton Avenue at Broad Street, that crosswalk there, more on Broad towards Vinnie's, along with right at the crosswalk on Main for the Liberty Bell Trail. Unfortunately, that meeting was postponed again in January, where they're going to decide. So it's on for March 16th. So hopefully they'll talk about that grant then. I believe they did meet in January. They just didn't talk about the grant. So we'll hopefully hear after that to see if we were awarded the grant. The PPE kit distribution initiative was something that took place through the Montgomery County Commerce Department. They put together some personal protective equipment kits for local businesses. Lindsay coordinated with the Public Works Department and was able to get Hatfield Borough 70 kits. So those kits will be distributed to our local borough businesses. I believe it has to be under 100 employees. And those kits contain cloth masks, hand sanitizer, I think a digital thermometer, some face shields. So it's just another way that we can help some of our local businesses out, provide some other assistance during this pandemic. Number 4 is your statement of financial interest forms. I wanted to put this out there to let you know I'll be distributing them in the next couple weeks, and they'll be due by May 1st. I know May comes up real quick, so just wanted to let you know to look for them probably in your packets for the regular meeting. I'll get what you filled out last year along with what you need to fill out this year, and get it back to me before May 1st. There'll be plenty of other reminders about it for future meetings. Next is the Public Works Director transition. As President Wireman indicated, Fred left us this past week after 13 years of great service to the borough. Wanted to let you know that Stevie has stepped up. You is going to be our Public Works Director. There's a resolution on for consideration this evening. Fred's email, along with Fred's phone, was turned over to Mr. Fickert. So we do have constant communication from Fred's previous contacts and his email. So we didn't drop anything. Everything's still coming through. And especially with the storm that was came this past weekend, the police department was issued an updated emergency management contact list with Stevie's updated information. So everybody's on board, and that transition went over quite smoothly, I believe. So we're on top of that between the phone and the email, emergency contact list. Those things have been taken care of. Was attached to your packet this evening was the Public Works Department labor position. Wanted to let you know that as of end of the day today, we have in hand 15 resumes for that position. So myself and Public Works Director Steve Fickert will sit down probably next week, because they have a lot of cleaning up still that they have to do with sidewalks and stuff from the storm. Things kind of, go out. So we'll sit down next week, decide who we would like to bring in for an interview, and then start the interview process, and I will keep you updated on that process. Next was a borough website update from Ms. Hellman. She wanted to let you know the current status of the website, along with that we will be doing formal headshots for staff and elected officials over the next, I would say, month and a half. So she would like you to submit a short biography to her by Monday, February 15th for the new government portion of the website. So if you could just write a little bit of blurb about yourself and send it to her in an email, we'll get that on the website, and we'll coordinate a photographer coming in and having everybody take a professional headshot photo, staff included, that we can post on the borough website. Finally, I added this afternoon, this is the Grace Lutheran Church Community Caroling and Tree Lighting. This was a letter that Grace Lutheran had sent out that President Wireman gave me to let them know that they are going to continue with the tradition of the Christmas tree lighting ceremony and caroling that takes place that the Hatfield Chamber of Commerce hosted, and the borough took great pride in participating in, and they're really excited to take it over. They're going to work with Cub Scout Pack 510, who works really closely with Grace. And just speaking from Grace Lutheran Church Council, we're all really excited that this gets to stay in the borough, and it's something that Grace is really looking forward to taking over. So they wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, and they're looking forward to working with Hatfield Borough and Hatfield Township residents to keep the tradition going. So that's all that I have. If you guys have any questions for me, all ears. Thank you.
And Jamie, I have one question.
Yeah, sure, Sal.
Yeah, a couple months ago, you mentioned a grant you're thinking about applying for Edgewood Park.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you tell me the latest status on that one?
Sure. Yep. That grant is for DCNR. That's like a recreational grant that comes. And starting after the first of the year, Drew Gilchrist, he is our coordinator for that. He'll come to the borough and we'll talk about that grant, and we'll lay out our design, and we'll look at equipment. Stevie and I have looked in the past at equipment. We'll continue to see any equipment that we feel, to upgrade the park. Drew will come out, he'll sit down with myself, and I believe he sat down with Lindsay last time when he was out here. It all happened before COVID hit last year. So we're gonna start to do the same thing. So once he comes out, I will give you another update, but he looks to come out maybe February, March, get everybody on the same page, because the grant is due the end of April.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. It's great, Jamie. We'll continue then. We're going to be moving into new business category. The resolution 2021-03, appointing Stephen S. Bickert Jr. as our Public Works Director.
I'll make that motion.
This is just new business. We're not into the action items yet.
All right.
This is your chance
thinking.
to put the black ball in the pot,
Well, I'll say moving right along.
Okay. And second item, got a little work here on our ADA curb ramps. So I guess Chad's still on, and Mike, whoever's running with this one.
I could take it if you want, Mike. On January
Please.
20th. Sure. On January 21st, 10 bids were received for the ADA ramp reconstruction project. There was actually a great turnout as far as the interest from the contractors go. It was also a great response as far as the bids that came in. Roughly half of them were lower than what we estimated. And our estimate was based on last year's bidding of this roughly the same project, a couple more ramps in last year's. But so apparently contractors are hungry for work, and they're hungry enough to give us some low cost. So that's great. We reviewed the apparent lowest bidders documents, as we always do. We had some questions that I received consultation from the borough solicitor, errors and omissions that we identified in the bidders documents. Solicitor Harper agreed with our assessment as far as the information that was missing and in error. And ultimately, we agreed that the apparent lowest bidders documents were not satisfactory to award the contract to them. So our recommendation, therefore, is to reject the bid from Drumheller Construction Company. And I prepared a letter dated February 2nd that lists the reasons that we're making that recommendation. The good news is that the second lowest bidder was just a little bit higher, roughly $1,300 and change higher. So it wasn't a huge increase in cost. If we go to the second lowest bidder, that contractor did include all the required documents based on our review. And you'll see in the packet that we are recommending that the contract be awarded to G&B. G&B, I'm trying to get the real name here, Construction Group, Inc., in the amount of $47,840.
Where are they located?
Willow Grove, I believe.
Have you dealt with them in the past, Chad?
I haven't, but we've reached out to their references and they've gotten good responses.
I just want to say that Chad was absolutely correct. He ran the missing documents by me, and I thought that it would be unfair to the other bidders to consider a bid that did not comply with the bid specs. So that's why we're recommending that you throw out the Drumheller bid. I was worried the borough would get sued by G&B if it awarded the bid to Drumheller, whose bid package was incomplete.
Have they done work with boroughs or townships right in our immediate area?
I don't recall exactly where it is that they've done their work, but they did have a great list of experience with concrete work, with ramp work, sidewalks. They worked in boroughs, townships. Off the top of my head, honestly, I can't recall exactly which municipalities they were. But again, we did reach out to the references and they got good responses.
So will they also be available to residents that want to have sidewalk or other work completed?
That's not within the contract, but during our, assuming the contract's awarded to them, that's something that can be discussed in the pre-construction meeting or even beforehand if you wish. But that's not something that goes into the contract documents because that would be private work.
Right, okay. Yeah, I think we always make that available to the residents, so I would think we would want to include that in the next discussion with them. See what the pricing would be. Any other questions?
I do not.
It's also on for action, or actually 2 items with a rejection and then the acceptance. Okay. Yeah, that was nice to see that list, as you said, Chad. That many people submitting, so great. Okay, item 8C, ordinance number 539, authorizing the non-electoral debt and pro forma. So we got information from Delaware Valley Finance to assist with the notes for all the work that's going to be done, which is pointed out back in the attachment A, what the sources and use of those funds will be. There we go. So it's our Lincoln Avenue Bridge, Orchard Lane Sewer, crosswalk. And then we were able to include the vehicle, the new vehicle in this financing package. So that'll be a much more attractive rate than we would have gotten through a lease or other financing. And then some miscellaneous costs in there, project costs. So looking at a total of $1,955,000, and as we discussed during the budget presentation, $1,430,000 of that would hopefully be all reimbursed upon completion of these projects, that we would pay down that amount as a short-term note. And what Mike was able to talk to Del Val about was deferring any principal payments on that note all the way out till March of 23. So we've got, we all anticipated that those funds would be reimbursed in the fourth quarter to repay the debt, but this gives us an opportunity to go into the first quarter of 2023 to get paid before there would be any repayment due. So that's terrific. So you see here on the screen now, what would be the remaining 525,000 as a long-term note over 20 years with principal schedule repayments there. So that represents the borough share, as you'll recall, on these projects. And keep our fingers crossed that a rate of 1.427% fixed, depending where that finally ends up, again, is real, what you call current market rate, a lot better than you would do with any kind of bank financing or bond financing, other type of bond financing. So as we did last year when we refinanced ESSA, this ordinance spells out, I guess, what is it, Kate, up to like 10 million, I think, is the cutoff for the allowable amounts without going through even more stringent reviews.
Right. I just, I wanted to know whether, I mean, I think the rate's great. The payments are great. It looks great. I was wondering if Mike has it in print that there's no prepayment penalty, because there is a reference to a termination fee in the ordinance. And I know that the ordinance is written more broadly than the loan docs. We had that issue before, and I was worried before, and it turned out not to be a problem. But I don't know, Mike, do you have anything in writing that there's no prepayment penalty or termination fee if we, pay this off early?
The termination fees are if you were to pay off the fixed rate loan early, because they want to be made whole on the interest that they were banking on. All right. But the not for the variable rate. All right.
Okay.
And that's the reason for the language. And then, of course, they always have that that original sheet that tells you that if you, for some reason, default or don't pay your loans on time, your rate could go to you could lose your fixed rate that you have locked in, and you pay that 15% rate for your default rate.
Right.
So the only portion that would be subject to full payment of interest would be the fixed rate if you were to pay that off early, because they have locked that in for you, and they need to make that interest.
And can they tell us, can they calculate that now if the borough does what Council President Wireman was suggesting and use grant money to pay down the principal?
Well, the grant money is, as you see, there's Series A and Series B. Series A is the fixed rate, and Series B is the variable rate. Series B is the one you're allowed to pay off in advance. It's scheduled out over the 20 years, but you don't have to carry it for 20 years. The fixed rate you do have to carry for 20 years because they're banking their business on that income, that interest.
Okay, so the bigger number is actually the variable.
Yes.
And that accords with our budget. In other words, the way B is Schedule B series accords with how council has budgeted for this item. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
We're lucky to have a council president who understands banking and loans, but I just want to make sure that we're okay.
Yeah, I've raised the same question, actually. Wanted to make, because they still talk about the interest rate swap even on the variable portion, which there should not be an actual rate swap if it's variable.
Right.
Or at least there shouldn't be any fees involved with that. So
And if you look at what they call a swap, the swap is the rate that you're paying the bank. The swap is the rate that you're paying Delval
Right,
to
okay,
do all this, all right? And that's why they need to guarantee on the fixed rate that they get their income, both the lending institution and Delaware Valley. They're banking their business on that income, okay? They're risking you not paying, not taking the variable rate to full term. And that's the reason why they don't charge you a penalty. They know you're not going to take it to full term. That's why they're willing to give you the variable rate.
agreed, yep.
Okay,
That's why they show that rate changing in future years, even though it's only slightly where it ends up at 2%. But
Right.
as we just said, hopefully by the end of 21, we'll have this repaid, not even going into 22. Any other questions on that? It's also up as a motion for advertising the ordinance. Okay, ready to go into old business then. 9A, the road resurfacing bid. Looking at March 4th, as you see here for that bid opening. There's the whole schedule on the next screen. Tentative schedule. Any questions on those? Same thing, that's up for action item also. Okay, hearing nothing, item 10 is all our monthly reports and including a very nice detailed report that was included from our soon-to-be official Public Works Director. Keep him on pins and needles for a couple more minutes here. Very detailed information on what occurred midnight and beyond on the 1st and the 2nd. You see that on the screen now. If there's any questions about anything else prior to that, otherwise we can take a look at this. And Steve has any other comments he wants to add? Thank you for taking the time to put this together.
Yeah, not a problem, John.
Everything smooth with going in to pick up the loads of salt at the township facility?
Yes and no. Their loader went down early Monday morning. They had a hydraulic problem, but they had their backhoe there for a backup. So we were just, doesn't load as fast, but it still loads. So
Great.
that's all we cared about.
Well, it was quite a test for you to start out with 2 events or 2 days like that with the events.
Wow.
Nothing like getting indoctrinated correctly, huh?
Yeah.
Boom.
Nothing we haven't dealt with before. It's, just a little different without having somebody to, kind of direct you when you're the one directing.
Mhm.
So, but like I said, it's nothing we haven't dealt with before, and nothing we haven't handled before.
I like that attitude.
Any questions on any of the reports? Chad, we always thank you for providing these updates every month. That's wonderful.
My pleasure.
Hearing nothing again, we ready to hit the action? Okay, let's go to 11A. First off, motion for approval of resolution 2021-03, approving the appointment of Stephen S. Ficker Jr. as our Public Works Director for the Borough of Hatfield.
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Motion by Councilor Cresser, second by Councilor Delicio. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion's approved. Congratulations officially.
Congratulations, Steve.
Welcome to the white
Congrats,
hat.
Steve.
You can take off your black hat. Now you got to wear a white hat management.
Thank you, everyone.
Steve, I liked your answer to that snow problem. You said something you did before, you faced before. So you didn't seem like it was a big deal. I like that answer.
Appreciate it, Sal.
As long as it was the only one for the rest of the winter, we're all happy. But it doesn't sound good at the moment long term for next weekend either. This coming weekend, I should say.
Yeah, like I said, we've dealt with it before. We're gonna deal with it every single winter.
Well, you can deal with it with Jamie because Mr. DeFinis and I will be in a slightly warmer climate, at least for a couple of days for me.
Hey, Steve, you got the job done though.
Yep.
Okay. Item B, motion to consider for approving the rejecting of the 2021 ADA curb ramp project bid from Drumheller Construction.
I'll make the motion for rejecting.
I second.
Motion by Councilor Cresser, second by Councilor Delicio. We heard detailed explanation. In addition, have a written letter from our engineers, Bursich, indicating why this bid is being rejected. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor of rejecting, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's approved. Item C, motion to consider approving and awarding the 2021 ADA curb ramp project bid from G&B Construction Group, Inc. in the amount of $47,840.
Make the motion.
I second.
Motion by Councilor Cresser, second by Councilor Delicio. Any other questions on this? Again, there's a letter recommending this award from our engineers. Hearing no questions, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's approved. Next is item D, motion for approval of advertising the 2021 roadway resurfacing bid specifications.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Motion by Counselor Cressler, second by Counselor Delicio. Saw the time frame that was presented. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Anyone opposed? Motion's approved. And item E, motion for approval of advertising ordinance number 539, authorizing a public hearing scheduled for February 17th, 2021 to discuss the occurrence of non-electoral debt.
I'll make the motion.
I second it.
I think was that Jason? Guess it's cracking there. Okay.
Yeah, it's Jason breaking up, man.
Yeah, sorry, I put it in the chat. I keep trying to mute and unmute because it keeps cracking. So sorry about that. Try to get that fixed.
Motion by Counselor Cressler, second by Counselor Ferguson. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Any opposed? Motion's approved. That concludes the agenda items. We do
Motion to
have an
adjourn.
executive session scheduled.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjournment.
second.
All done. Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
See you. Thank you.
Chad.
Thanks, Chad.
Good night.
Chad, you have.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Lieutenant.